as a black non-American, as a black British guy, do you know one of the things that actually really upsets me about it from someone who's not like part of this community as an outsider is I actually think the USA does need a Black Lives Matter movement. Just not the one that you got. Like, I do think that there are people in the population, particularly some Black Americans themselves, who don't believe. I can say this because actions speak louder than words. And through their actions and through their own words, it's very clear to me that they themselves do not believe that Black lives matter. Like, if they did, certain people wouldn't behave the way that they do. If you truly believe that Black lives matter, then why are you promoting and pushing and doing some of the things that you're doing? And it's so normalized. I don't know if I've really ever like spoken about this publicly, but like I say this, obviously I'm in the hip hop world and I'm a rapper myself, right? And even in the music world, okay, there are, as we both know, there are a lot of rap and hip hop songs, tons of them, thousands of them, where I'm like, if this song was made by like, if you took these lyrics and they came out of a white person's mouth, this would be like a Ku Klux Klan anthem.
Yes.
Like, or if a Jewish rapper were to say these same things about their fellow Jewish people, or if a white rapper were to take this same thing and make it, talk about, doing this and this and this to their fellow white people would be like, this guy's got a problem. This is insane. We're not going to play this on the radio. We're not going to play this in the clubs. Like, if a Chinese rapper is going around talking about killing Chinese people and using anti-Chinese racial slurs, people are like, this guy's insane.
Yeah.
But if it's a black rapper, no one bats an eyelid. Black people don't bat an eyelid. White people don't bat an eyelid. It's so normalized. It's just like, oh yeah, like that's just what you do. N bomb, like, kill this, bang, shoot that, bang. And it's just so like, it's stunning because like no one makes this point. Like almost no one even talks about it. It's just so normalized over the decades where it's just like, oh yeah, that's just like the culture. That's just how people talk. And it's crazy because some of these high profile situations will happen with police, for example. And, the hip hop community, rappers, DJs, pundits, and so on, they'll come out and, they're all, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. And then the next day, what are you playing on the radio? What are you recording in the studio? Kill that what? Shoot that who? Right?
Yeah.
And it's just so normalized. People are numb to like black on black violence. And some people don't like that term because they're like, oh, it's just violence. Like black on black violence, which is the majority of the killing, majority of the gang, like, it's targeting other black people. It's perpetrated by Black Americans against other Black Americans. And it's so normalized and it's so common. It doesn't even make the news. It doesn't make the news because everyone's just like, oh yeah, like that happens every day. People say that, oh, it happens every day.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so why is that so? No, you want to wait until there's like a very rare and, borderline situation that involves the police and one person and someone gets killed. And now you're out in the street. Now it's Black Lives Matter. But if you're saying Black Lives Matter, it shouldn't be Black Lives Matter when killed by a white police officer under dubious circumstances. That's the current version. It should just be Black Lives Matter. Why do you care about that situation? But then these other 99, these other 500, just shrug. Yeah, it happens. And then you want to activate for this 0.1%, but then the other 99.9%, nobody really cares. And that's sad. And then if you want to talk about like, gosh, the millions of Black Americans killed via abortion, you want to talk about even just like health issues, like diabetes, like heart disease, like things that are even, again, disproportionately affecting that particular, like if you list the top 10, like take a list of the top 10 things that are killing Black Americans, none of them are white people, white supremacy, police officers. None of those things are even remotely in the top 10. So if there were a Black Lives Matter movement and it was like, okay, we want to increase the life expectancy, increase the lifespan and the health span of this community, this demographic of people. Like, okay, cool. Here are the top 5. These are the top 5 killers. Let's focus on reducing those. But it's not that those conversations aren't even happening. So I see this from a distance and I'm like, Man, that was such a good slogan, right? Like the slogan. I'm like, I number one, I agree with it. And two, I actually think specifically for that community, it is necessary, but the way it's been gone about and now like the sort of toxicity that's attached to that Black Lives Matter term, BLM, it to me, it's a giant shame. It's like a giant missed opportunity where, okay, you could have really, really raised awareness in a way that is necessary and helpful and which actually helps people. It doesn't just make you feel good about your politics, but like it genuinely helps people. Mm-hmm. And instead, nope, I don't know. All these years later, what's there to show for it? I don't see much.
I think about this a lot.
Okay.
I have a whole theory about this. The thing is those conversations are happening.
Okay.
The conversations are definitely happening, but they just do not get traction because one, there's not the funding, and two, there's not the media attention. When it's inflammatory, people are automatically going to flock much more to chaos, anger, fear. Fear has always been the Achilles heel of the Black community. That's always been the way that they've controlled us. And when I say they, I mean just like largely the left, if we're being so honest. And I can go into a whole deep dive on that. And it's like, my theory is, part of why Black people are less incentivized to actually promote something that's going to help us is because we've been systemically disempowered so much that that's our norm. That's like our equilibrium. Because I used to blame rap music a lot, and I still do to an extent, because Nicki Minaj even called it out, how you have rappers like Future who rap about guns he's never held, drugs he's never done, all these different things, but then his audience will actually go and do it. But it's more often than not just his Black audience. If you go to a Drake concert, a Kendrick concert, a Future concert, you look around, you're going to see all suburban white kids, almost all suburban white kids. And they're not going home and doing the same things that they rap about. They listen to the songs, they laugh at it, they vibe to it, they pretend to be gangsta for the picture, and then they don't actually do anything. In the Black community, we have kids that are actually going and doing it. And I really do feel like to an extent that's by design. So a question people ask me a lot that ties into this is they'll ask me if systemic racism is over, when did it end? I would say, from a legal standpoint, systemic racism ended in the 60s when we had like civil rights and all of that. Of course, you don't just like pull the plug and it's done. Like you pull the stopper out, the tub still has to drain. I would say over the course of the next couple of decades, you started to see systemic racism vanish. In the 80s, for example, and I attach a lot of culture to politics because I've always felt like they're very intertwined. In the 80s, you had artists like Whitney Houston and Janet Jackson who were very vocal about the fact that they were the biggest artists in the world, female, or some of the biggest female artists in the world, but they couldn't get their music on MTV, for example. But you still had them. You had Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, all these people that through culture is how a lot of white people that were racist started to not hate Black people anymore. That sentiment of being anti-Black started to go away as a lot of the people that they idolized were Black. You know, so as that happened in the 80s and you started to see systemic racism completely go away, what it then turned into, these same people, particularly in Hollywood, and who has Hollywood been run by for so long, the left, you started to see them switch their tactic. Instead of it being about, well, we can't keep them legally out of these places anymore because when you systemic racism, let's disempower them. You see this shift that happened around the 90s as these artists became so big that suddenly you no longer had shows like the Cosby Show. You started having ones, it started incremental. It was like Living Single, it was Girlfriends, it was all these different shows that had to do with no longer being about the nuclear family. It no longer had to do with morals and coming together as a unit like Family Matters. It instead became everything that was in our music, everything that was on our TV, everything that was on our movies. They had to do with violence. They had to do with gangbanging. They had to do with being single, being degenerates, all of that. So we have become accustomed to consuming content that demoralizes us. And as that has gone on, it has gotten to the point where Black people are almost just, they're defensive about trying to do things that actually help the Black community. Ask a Black person about their diet. They'll talk about how the healthcare industry is racist and how all these Black people are dying because they don't have healthcare. Or maybe it's because we fry everything. But then even like with my own family, I would talk to them and they finally have started to get better with it because it took 2 heart attacks and diabetes later. But it's like, I talked to my dad, I'm like, why do you insist on having ghetto cooking? And then they'll try to tell me that I'm an Uncle Tom because I don't want to eat fried food all the time. Because I don't want to drown my food in hot sauce. They get offended. It's like, God forbid I bring an avocado.
Yeah.
I actually had a family member curse me out because I brought an avocado. I literally bought an avocado for the dinner we were making. But like, it's funny, but it's so serious. This is how ingrained the Black community is into toxicity. They don't want to do better. They don't want to hear the fact that the whole thing with the origins of Planned Parenthood, they take more offense to you saying, maybe we should look into the backstory of Planned Parenthood. They take more offense to that than the fact that they're strategically putting them there so that we stop having kids. Yeah. So it's scary to me.
You want to talk about a genocide, then let's talk
about it. You have cities like New York where more Black babies are aborted than born, but they don't want to talk about that because, again, Black people are addicted to our own demoralization, and it has been systemic. Systemic racism simply turned into systemic disempowerment, and BLM took that and ran with it. It made us more chaotic. This is why I even say that at this point, I'm pro-mass incarceration. Not that I wanted to go... I am very, and
it sounds crazy, but it's not. I know what you mean.
Yeah, being pro-mass incarceration is the most pro-Black thing you can do, because then we're going to have fewer stereotypes because they won't apply as much. You take the fact that within the Black community, it's less than 1% of us that are committing violent crimes. They're more often than not repeat offenders. If you take all those hood rats and keep them in prison, then we won't see Black people being viewed as this problematic race anymore. But again, it's not just Black. You get rid of all the violent criminals, then you're not going to have this issue anymore. But again, the Black community is the least likely to hear that because we're addicted to our own downfall.